everybody. Welcome to another episode of Capital Spotlight. Today we're here with Mike Watson, Director of Federal Relations at the American Petroleum Institute, API. Mike, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored to be considered for this podcast. And, I'm Mike. I grew up outside of Chicago, about 30 minutes north of the city, in a town called Deerfield, and went to school at Marquette University in Milwaukee, so I didn't go too far. And then I moved out here 8 years ago, almost to the day, and I've been here working in government, working downtown, and just both on the Hill in the administration, and then two trade associations.
Cool. Yeah, give us a little bit of background on your resume there.
Yeah, so happy to dive in as deep or as little as you want.
Good medium range.
Yeah, perfect. So I started out my first political job. I interned out here, fell in love with DC, knew that's what I wanted to do after that, but I ended up moving to the campaign side of the member that I was interning for in the 2016 cycle. First real political job, fell in love with it.
To be in politics.
Wild time. That it was a great intro into politics, and I think everybody should try a campaign at least once. It's quite an experience, and you really get a feel for kind of the more raw side of politics. Yeah. And then knew I wanted to come out here. I was trying to look at a bunch of different internships on the Hill, and then was able to land one at the House Oversight Committee. Nice. So I finished up the campaign. I finished up my last semester of school, moved out here in May of 2017 with my internship, and then that transitioned into a full-time role on the committee. Was there for about a year and a half. Moved over to first Trump administration at the Department of Energy.
Cool.
Had a couple of roles there. Absolute best time of my life there. Happy to, we'll talk about that later. Sure. And then was there till beginning 2021, and then started at the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, representing the auto manufacturers, and then as that was the last 4 years, up until last month, and I moved over to the American Petroleum Institute.
Yeah, you got a fresh new job.
New job.
Well, let's just start there. Like, what's it like so far? Federal Relations Director, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
It can mean a lot of different things. So tell me what you're doing.
It's been an amazing first month, but Director of Federal Relations, just essentially I'm one of the lobbyists on the team at API. We traditionally have 4 directors. We split the issues up. We split the portfolios up based on issues. So I handle downstream, which is refining, cool, and then LNG, liquid natural gas. So more export on the export side.
Cool.
So I've been handling that. We've been busy. It's been 100 miles an hour since the day I started. It's been a ton of fun. I love the team there. Everyone has been super welcoming, and I've just been going hard and loving it.
For an administration that's obviously embracing a lot of the stuff that you're working on, how has that been something that's kind of propelled you forward, or it's right in your sweet spot? So how busy is that making you right now?
It's a great time to be in the industry. It's not without its challenges. Like you said, this administration is very friendly towards our industry, and that's helped drive a lot of progress in these last 5 months. And so, we're working on kind of some carryover stuff that I've been working on in the autos on these gas car bans, and trying to fight those. And so hopefully we're closing that out soon. But so that's been good. And then on the LNG side, there's they paused the permitting in the Biden administration. Trump now released it, and so we're kind of trying to get those permits out and get these shipments out. And there are some issues that pop up here and there that we just kind of have to whack them all. And
cool.
That's what I've been working on.
How did you get interested in the energy side of things? What propelled you towards the administration, and then how'd you find your passion there, or something you really enjoy?
Yeah, I think I always was interested in energy policy before I knew what energy policy was. I certainly, in college, when I had to write papers and pick topics, that was kind of something I naturally gravitated towards. Had no idea that I'd make a career out of it. And then how I got into DOE, it was just random. It was just, I was on the Hill from 2017 through into 2018. I knew that I was on a committee, so I knew the House was pretty well known it was going to flip. So I just started looking around for work. I had no idea really what being a political appointee meant. I had no idea. In my head, people would recommend going in the admin, I just thought I would just be a random person in a really bureaucratic role, like just paper pushing. And that didn't totally appeal to me. But everyone's like, no, you should do it. And the contacts I had were, friends of friends at DOE. And so I was like, great, I like energy. I'm happy to go explore it. And my first job in the admin was for the assistant to the White House liaison. And the White House liaison who I was working for ended up being a Marquette grad, and he's the best boss I've had. No offense, but I've had amazing bosses, but he was just, we hit it off. We vibed really well, and he was super supportive of me, and we're still really good friends to this day. But that's a great role because the White House liaison in an administration, each department has one. Each agency has one, and they basically do the HR for the political appointees.
Gotcha.
So everyone comes into my office. I get to know every political appointee at DOE, from the assistants to the really high ups, and I got a great feel for all the different offices. And my boss is the one that did the promotions and move it around. So everyone is nice to me, which was great. And so I was just friendly with everybody, and then I ended up just falling into this role in advance. And I don't know if that's where you want to go right now, but
sure, let's take it there.
So
well, wait, sorry, real quick,
please
take a step back. A lot of our audience works on the Hill, and hasn't necessarily had that administration or White House experience, and so I like diving into that to try to understand the different inner workings of these institutions in DC. So tell us a little bit more about working in the administration. How much contact did you have with the White House or with White House staffers? And then what was your relationship with the Hill too? Are you kind of off on your own?
Yeah, certainly less so with the interaction with the Hill. Starting as the White House liaison, you're kind of the extension of the White House PPO. It's the President's Personnel Office. So they do all the hiring. They vet all the people before you apply to DOE, you get interviewed. They want to hire you. You got to go through PPO to get vetted first, and then they give the approval. So we worked with the White House a lot, certainly. And then when I moved up into the advanced role, I worked really closely with their Cabinet Affairs office because Bruyette was the deputy secretary when I first started, and then secretary later on. And so we worked really closely with that office. They're just kind of the coordinators with all the agency cabinet and deputy cabinet members. And then as advanced, my interaction with the Hill was kind of more fun in the sense that I got to interact a lot with members of Congress and senators, and it was kind of my show as advanced. So I got to kind of tell them, you need to show up at this time. You're going to wait here, and this is when the secretary comes. You do this. So it was kind of fun to just
boss the bosses.
You got to boss them around a bit, but so it was a more collegial. Not as much of a hierarchical interaction with the members of Congress, so it was kind of fun to kind of get to know them on that level.
Nice. So what does advance mean? Obviously, you're are you doing the planning before you guys go on a trip, or are you going ahead on that trip and setting everything up? What does it look like?
Yeah, I think advance is the best kept secret, job-wise in town. If anybody has an opportunity to do it, it is so much fun. But so essentially advance. I knew nothing about advance when I first started. That you are kind of the logistics guy, the trip planner. You're kind of a Swiss Army knife. You fill in where you need to be, but your primary roles are, coordinating, the movements of the principal, making sure that every event goes on without a hitch, and that all the principal needs to do is show up, basically do their job and let me handle the rest of the details. So it's briefing them up really quickly on what this is about, making sure the visuals look good. So I mean, this every time I just notice the backdrops and flags. Folding flags is a very specific thing, and I always point out when I see when a flag is not spread right.
You're probably the one watching Veep and being like, they didn't do that right.
Yes, exactly. I see it all the time. I see even official portraits of congressmen, the flag is backwards, and it's like it drives me nuts. But so the really fun part is, well, number one, you get to be really close to the principal, and Dan Bruyette, cannot speak more highly of him. He was just, we were very fortunate as a country to have him as our energy secretary, but just a great man overall, and loved working for him, learned so much, and he was easy to work for. He demanded a lot, but he was a good man, and still is. And the fun part is, the travel essentially. So if we were going anywhere in the country, we have 17 national labs at DOE. We'd go there a lot. So say we go down to Oak Ridge, which is in Tennessee. It's my favorite lab, and it's beautiful. It's Eastern Tennessee, outside of Knoxville. So I would fly down 2 days. If it was a domestic trip, I'd fly down about 2 days before. When he was secretary, we'd have our security detail, so I'd fly down with 3 guys in the security detail, and they're all good guys. We all had a lot of fun. But so we would basically just do walkthroughs of everything we were doing, and we'd have our contacts for whatever meetings we were doing. Yeah. So I'd know where he's going to get dropped off, where the motorcade's going to drop him, where we're going to take him, where the hold room is before the meeting, what the backdrop looks like, and every detail. I'm not a super detailed oriented guy, or at least I wasn't, and then you just really have to be. So that was fun. I got to see the energy world, in the United States from a really unique level. I got to meet these CEOs and just you go to drill sites and nuclear power plants. And so that was really cool. And then the overseas trips are obviously the highlight.
Yeah,
I got to go to places I never ever thought I would go to, like UAE or Japan, stuff like that. And so that is the most fun. It's a ton of work. You're working all the time, and you're flying out probably 3 days before the boss gets there, and it's just constant walk. There's so many moving parts overseas, and you have to work with the embassy. All your assets are over there, so the motorcade, and you have a ton of support from the embassy staff, and you're just coordinating with them. And again, you're meeting energy ministers and prime ministers, and going to all these different sites and seeing things and kind of getting the VIP experience for it. So that was by far the coolest part.
Very cool. Yeah, I feel like a lot of staffers, including myself, think if you want to do those type of trips, go work at state, and so I feel like foreign policy is super fun, right?
Yeah.
But if you want those big trips, go to state, you'll get them all the time, but there's different ways to go about that too. And
certainly.
So, was there a trip in particular that really stood out to you, like this was my favorite trip?
Yeah, there's a couple. And I also would volunteer for POTUS trips, so one's for the president, and their advanced shop at the White House is usually four advanced leads, and then everyone else on the trips are volunteers.
Gotcha.
So, and they're always looking for help. And so, as an advanced guy, I was fortunate to be invited on a few of those trips. The one POTUS trip that stuck out and that has had an impact on my career moving forward was we did one at a Ford plant during COVID, and they'd converted part of their plant to make ventilators. Oh, cool. And so Trump was coming out to kind of tour that side of things, and I got to design a large part of that tour for the president. And then my job on game day when the president was there was to escort Bill Ford, the chairman, because cool. Once the Secret Service takes over a place, it's not your place anymore. Yeah. And so my job was to walk him around. And I kind of got like an hour of just him and their CEO at the time to just shoot the breeze, and cool. It was very cool. So that one, and that kind of set my career trajectory towards the autos, and I can go into that later. But and then another trip with Dan. Obviously, all the overseas ones were amazing. I went to the G20 in Japan, but I think one that really stuck out was when I kind of really hit my stride at doing advanced was we were going to Texas, and we had 2 stops, one in San Antonio, one in Houston, and then from Houston to the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the SPR.
Cool.
And I was doing the San Antonio trip. We had another advanced guy doing the Houston and the SPR. But it was also during COVID. So my trip in San Antonio, I did all the walkthroughs, everything went well, and then we were about to board the flight to go to Houston, and we got a call saying that there was like a COVID exposure at the SPR when they did their walkthroughs. So at that time, everybody had a quarantine that was there. So the security detail that were there, they couldn't meet him at the airport, and then the advanced guy couldn't do the rest of his walkthroughs. So we had to drive instead of fly, we had to drive from San Antonio to Houston. It was about 3 hours or so. And then I had to do all my walkthroughs on the fly as I got there. And it was a wild, 24 hours, whatever it was. And I was just absolutely gasped. It was a ton of fun, and everything went off really well. But that was where I really kind of got my confidence in doing advanced, because it's a steep learning curve.
Really push you into the fire right away.
Exactly.
And just do it. That's great. This is a weird question, but when you say volunteer for the presidential detail,
mm-hmm.
are you literally like, okay, I'm not getting paid for this? Or I guess it's in your salary as DOE in some way, but like,
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, sure, I'll go step away for a little bit.
Yeah. So it's so if you're in the administration, they're very obviously your job. You work for the president at the end of the day. So my bosses were just like, yeah, go do it. So they don't pay you, but they will pay. You get paid for your normal job, but they will pay for your hotel, your rental car, and they'll give you per diem. Cool. So, but there's a lot of people, these older guys that have been doing advanced since like Bush 1, and they're retired and they just want to keep living.
Why would you not, right?
Totally. And so they just do it for free. They basically do it for free. They just go on these trips, and obviously their stuff gets paid for, but they just do it for fun. So hopefully I can do that when I'm retired.
That. Like I got to volunteer for the 2020 inauguration, and so you volunteer months before. It's like, sure, whoever wins, I just want to go, right? Like, and just being a part of that moment and getting to like have that in my memory bank forever. Like, wow, I was right there. Like,
totally.
I don't need to get paid for that.
Yeah.
Right?
No, totally. And the POTUS trips are a slog. I mean, it is 7 full days of work for the president to be on the ground for 3 hours. And it's amazing what they do is the Secret Service, they take over basically a whole floor of a hotel. And I mean, they clear out the furniture and they'll set up like command posts for the security. And then our advanced team will have desks and computers set up and printers, everything you can need. And then to make sure that, this trip goes by the books. And it's an incredible operation, what they do just for that little amount of time.
Yeah. God bless those people.
God bless it. I mean, for a cabinet member doing advanced was fun and it was challenging, but I mean, doing it for a president, the pressure, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever you're like flying ahead of time, do you guys have like private channels, or you guys ones are just kind of hopping on commercial flights, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we're all commercial, at least on the advanced team, and the secretary was always commercial unless it was. He did Mil-Air once or twice just for like security reasons, but we were always commercial. But so we got great airline points, and So and that for better or worse, that got me addicted to the airline status. So I'm still like chasing that. But
are you like American Airlines or United?
United guy all the way. I grew up outside Chicago, so that's where United's based. But then it just happened that the U.S. government, at least in the executive branch, uses United primarily.
Just get out of Dulles. There you go.
Yeah, United and then Marriott.
All right, there you go. So you got like those elite statuses for sure.
Yeah, but now it's like I got to do miles runs if I'm not going to hit. It's so ridiculous, so dumb.
Well, thank you for just giving some insight into that. It's just like a world that I don't think a lot of people know about, including myself and probably our listeners. So fascinating.
The best advanced guy, you never know they were there, guy or gal, and that's they work in the shadows per se, and as long as if nothing goes wrong, then they've done their job well.
Yeah, and you're still on the ground like for the event, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So at least for at an agency at DOE, you do the prep work, and then I was his body guy too, so I cool. Just you make sure everything is good to go.
That would be so frustrating if you had to do all of the planning work and then like leave before
then just
the
leave.
event happens.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Drive me insane.
Yeah. No, it was fun because having those dual roles, it's just really good time and unique time with the boss.
So to mention Veep again, we all know Gary. We know the stereotypical body man.
Yeah.
Like, what is an actual body man like?
Yeah, I mean it's somewhat similar, and Veep is one of my favorite shows. But it is essentially. I wasn't I didn't have a big bag of whatever he needed, but it was really. I didn't have a Leviathan, but it was like, if we're at an event and he's chatting with people, I always had 2 sets of business cards. I had one of mine and then one of his, so that when he's chatting, I know the conversation's going to end with be like, reach out to my office, and I just have one ready to go, and then as I just hand it to him as the conversation's like seamless. So it's kind of like that. There's that aspect, and then during COVID, hotels stopped serving breakfast, and so that was usually what we did. And so then Starbucks was still open, so I'd always just wake up early. I'd go and pick up breakfast. That was like but also, making sure he's briefed up on the schedule for the next day. He knows what time we're leaving, what time the motorcade's leaving. Obviously, we're not going to leave without him, but this is the plan, and it's all just kind of being the jack of all trades, and that's whether it's I've had to brief him on press issues and kind of just fill in on the press side. I had to brief him on, I was the only staffer, and I had to brief him on a call with Bill Gates, and I was like, I should not be doing this. But it's just little things like that where you just have to keep your head on a swivel and take care of whatever.
And I think
do.
that's super cool. And being involved with a principal at such a high level too, like, opens up your doors to conversations with CEOs of companies and crazy stuff like that. Are there any other cool experiences there?
I got to meet the Satya Nadella, the Microsoft CEO. He came to the office, and that was part of the body guy stuff. Was I'd meet him at the entrance, and then bring him up to the office, and then same thing, and bring him back down. So I had this elevator time with a lot of these governors, CEOs, where I'm just kind of shooting the breeze with them, and just getting my jokes in where I can, and
So I do want to talk about who you are outside of politics because you've got some interesting stuff. But real quick, like, fill us in on like the kind of car side of things. So tell us about your next job after Advance.
Yep. So been a car guy my whole life, and it's always been something I've for whatever reason have been very interested in and just know a decent amount about.
There's something about like the male mind that just takes all of that in.
Just gravitates towards moving objects for whatever reason.
Why do cars just like get this pure masculinity out of someone?
I don't know. It's really, I think I just, I'm a big plane guy too. But it's, that's a whole other story. But cars have certainly, I mean, I can't fly a plane, but I can drive a car. So always loved cars. And, since I'd make, you can go online and like build your own car. I did that since I was like 13. Couldn't wait to get my own car. But anyway, so at DOE we worked. I told you we went to Ford with Trump, and then Brouillette, actually the secretary, was an exec at Ford back in the day. Cool. And so while we were there with Trump, I was like, hey, to the government affairs guys, I was like, hey, like, would you want the secretary to come? Like, we can definitely make that happen. And they said for sure. So the president was in May. We came in like September with Brouillette, and kind of knew, just in case the election didn't go right, just kind of seeing, I would love to work in the auto industry. So I kind of sat the guy down when I was doing my walkthrough. I was like, hey, like, I'd love to work for you guys, like a big car guy. And he's like, for sure. He's like, we'd love to have you, and let's touch base later. And one thing led to another. It didn't end up working out with Ford, but the guy at Ford was like, I know I used to work at the Auto Alliance, and then Brouillette also recommended, he knew the head guy there, and he's like, and I was like, I knew nothing what a trade association was. I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. I thought like policy jobs and lobbying jobs were kind of all the same, so that was a learning curve. So I had the energy and environmental policy job open up at the Auto Alliance, and I was like, this is perfect. I ended up getting it, and that was a whole, I applied, never heard back. I really wanted it. I had a bunch of people call, never heard back. So I just started LinkedIning the two hiring managers, and eventually they like gave in and gave me an interview, and I got the job. But
if having all the recommendations from Ford and the administration,
I know it was, and to their credit, I mean, it was like an engineering kind of focused job. I am nowhere near an engineering job, but it was a great experience. I needed that policy experience. I didn't do a ton on the Hill. I didn't do much at DOE. So I really needed that side to fill out that side of my experience. So it was really great in that sense, and just learned a ton about the regulatory process, which I had no idea about. And that is serving me well in this job as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. It kind of sets you up for that next step. And even in those moments where I think, why the heck am I doing this? Like, this has nothing to do with what I'm going to do long term or whatever. Like, it ends up being a crucial part of it.
Totally. And I think, one of the biggest, there's a few really good things that came out of it was you learn what you're good at, you learn what you're not good at, and that helps kind of steer you into what you want to do next, and kind of helps filter out some things. I think as you get older, I was thinking, before coming on here, I was just thinking about coming onto the Hill and kind of my mindset of, being really motivated to keep moving up and figure out the next move. I always had the next move kind of in my head. Sure. And I've had that less so as I've gotten older, for whatever reason. But I think being at the office for 4 years is in my opinion, is a long time. I think for people our age, it's a long time in a job.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this generation too, like people move around so quickly.
Yeah, and so I think that just gave me a really good understanding. It's like, okay, I am not great at, really technical detail policy, but I'm really great at, and if I say so myself, but, interacting with other people and just, communicating, those stories.
Yeah.
And so the policy side, I just knew probably wasn't the right job for me. And so, but that helps just kind of structure where you're moving forward.
For sure. And I feel like, at least when I was a staffer, definitely always had that next role ready to go.
Yeah.
But then you kind of pigeonhole yourself sometimes too. And like you think this is how I have to go about this role. And like the Hill can be a very much like this is how you have to do it type of place. And so how do you fight that mindset and just like let yourself be open to opportunities?
Totally. I think never saying no to things. And I've certainly, people have, when I've expressed that I've wanted to, look for other opportunities, they're like, oh, what about this? And like, that's not what you had in mind. And so your instinct just is to say no. And so, but I think you have to fight that instinct and just look, at all the options, and you never know, explore it, talk to the people. You never know. You may love it.
For sure. So, all right. Self-professed huge car guy.
Yeah.
You have a Subaru. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I do. Lindsay is her name. And I've had her since I was 16.
Nice.
I bought her when I was 16. And she's a little 5-speed manual hatchback, and 15 years old now. Still kicking. I'm trying to keep her forever, is my goal, much to my fiance's dismay. But I love driving a manual car, and they just don't make manuals anymore. And so I love driving it every time I get in. And there's nothing special about her other than just, her character. And 15 years of, that's half of my life where I've had her. And, think about all the life and experiences I've had with this car.
It's hard not to get sentimental.
You cannot. And being a car guy, I'm already inherently sentimental about cars. So I had like a dream, like a month ago, that I totaled her, and I was just like bawling in my dream. And I woke up and I was like, it was just, yeah. So it's a great car. She's a Subaru, so like they last well if you take care of her.
Sure.
And I certainly didn't take care of her when I was 16, 17-year-old. So I'm just impressed that she's lasted this long.
Making up for it now.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, totally.
What is it like trying to drive a manual car in DC?
It's not horrible. The worst, 95% of the time driving a manual is a lovely experience for me. It's that 5% when you're sitting in traffic and you just like your left foot is just like stuck, and you're just, it's kind of miserable, but it makes up for it in kind when it's not in traffic.
So take Subaru out of it, take Lindsay out of it.
Yeah.
Is there like a dream car brand for you? What is it?
Yeah, Porsche 911.
Okay.
That's like my dream car.
That is the car that I'm consistently building right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I drove one last year. Katie, my fiance, and I, for my 30th birthday, we took a drive down we stayed in Charlottesville, but we took Shenandoah. We just drove through Shenandoah to get there, took the longer route, and just, we rented this 911 through Turo and just had an absolute, fell in love with it. And we just kind of were whipping at the legal speed limit through Shenandoah.
35 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Yep.
Which honestly, though, when you're in Shenandoah, the roads are so windy, you don't need to go fast to have fun in a car like that. Although there is one tunnel through it like a mountain, that's always fun to give it the beans.
Sure.
But
Absolutely.
But so I always knew I loved a 911, and then once I drove it, it was just like, this is the car, because it's a sports car, but it's made to be used and not to be babied. And it's practical enough where you're not going to scrape it or whatever, and it's used to be, you can use it for anything, honestly.
Man, Porsches are just built so well.
Yeah.
I'm in a love affair right now for sure. But like that whole, in my head, it's like when I sell Connect, the Porsche 911 Turbo S is what I'm getting. I already know, like there's no changing my mind.
Yeah, there's no change about, that is like in a perfect world, I will keep Lindsay and just not have a car payment for as long as I can, save up and get a 911.
For sure. Yeah. There you go.
So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Really on the same page. So now we're going to talk about other things where we're
Yeah.
on the same page. Who you are outside. We've got hiking. We've got baseball that you love. So start off with baseball. Who's your favorite team?
Chicago
Brewers?
Cubs.
Okay.
Chicago
okay.
Cubs. Oh yeah, no, diehard fan. My family we had season tickets growing up, and so I've been to so many games, and just Wrigley is a really magical place. And I was very fortunate. I was working on the campaign in my hometown in 2016 when they won, so I never went to a game. That's a big regret of mine, just not shelling out the money for it.
Yeah.
That was like a poor campaign ever, but I
yeah.
totally, what's that money now? But I was there outside of Wrigley every game downtown, just partying it up with everybody and for the wins and the losses. And I was there. They didn't win it in Chicago. They won it in Cleveland, but I was outside of Wrigley when they won it. And it was like truly a dream come true. And to like my dad and I, grew up playing baseball. My dad's a huge Cubs fan. So just like he wasn't there at Wrigley, but he was back home watching. But I just like to share that experience.
for sure.
I mean, it was, so meaningful.
I'm a Pirates fan, so we get the Cubs all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a self-loathing type of experience, but
I get
maybe
it.
one day me and my dad will be able to share that memory.
Yeah. Well, I love Pittsburgh. I love the city of Pittsburgh. I think it's one of the most beautiful towns in the city or in the country, and you also have one of the prettiest baseball stadiums.
Yeah, and honestly, it's only 4 hours from DC
Yeah.
too. So for the people listening, if you ever want a good little weekend trip, Pittsburgh is right there. It's affordable, and you get PNC Park, which no matter how bad the Pirates are, it's still a beautiful.
It's a good experience. Yeah. Pittsburgh. I was there for work during like peak foliage, and it was just
Nice.
I thought it was incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. We could talk about Pittsburgh all day. I'll try to stop. But so let's take it on the hiking side and camping. That's something that you really love to do to kind of get out of the city, have a different part of your life. So tell us about that / skiing too. So let's just hear about the outdoors part of you.
Yeah. So I grew up going to the Boundary Waters, which for people don't know, it's this area on the border of Minnesota and Canada, and then there's the Canadian side of the park called Quetico. And so I grew up, I think my first trip I was 4, and my dad's a big outdoorsman. My whole family is, my mom too. And so my siblings, we went up, and you basically you get towed out. These little John boats with these racks you strap the canoes to. They tow you out to an island, and they drop where you can't drive a motorboat anymore, and they drop you off the island, and you go paddling into the park and set up camp and fish. So I've been doing that since I was 4, and so that's kind of where my love for the outdoors started. Cool. And then I think on our talking, I think you inquired on like my favorite camping experience, and it was a couple years ago for my dad's 70th birthday. We went to Yellowstone. He's a big fly fisher, and I love fly fishing too. But fly fishing is his diehard passion, and there's this creek called Slough Creek that goes through this beautiful valley in Yellowstone, and we took a 4-day horseback trip out. Just it was a group. It was with a few other people. Also, there was another 70th birthday,
Nice.
So we went out, and it was the middle of summer, so I'd never been to Yellowstone in the summer, so it was absolutely gorgeous. And we camped and fished on this little creek. There's no one around, and it was beautiful. They have cutthroat trout there is what they're famous for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we did that, and it was just a magical experience to just be out. My favorite part of that trip is so we had the Wranglers the 2 Wranglers that were, just herding all the horses and the mules, and they were just sleeping. They set up tents for everybody. Yeah. They were just sleeping outside under, and like I'm a pretty I can go pretty hard when it comes to outdoors, but I was like, that is freaking crazy.
Yeah, and you don't know if a coyote is gonna come.
You're
by.
in grizzly country.
Yeah,
I mean,
for real.
And so I was like, how do you do that? He's like, it's like the best thing ever. Like you have to do it. And I was like, oh man. And I didn't want to like look like a baby. And so I was like, all right. I was like, I'll do it like one night. And it got to the last night, and I was like, oh, it's time to like put up or shut up. So I did it, and I slept under this tree, under the stars, and it was the best night's sleep. Like one of the most magical experiences I've ever had. It was great. But that's camping, skiing. That is my ultimate outdoor passion. My mom got me on skis, probably when I was 3 years old. Nice. So she's a big skier. She went to the University of Utah, skied her whole time in college. Cool. So she got me into that. and we've been going mainly to Montana for the last 22 years or so. And so I've been skiing Big Sky my whole life. It's kind of my home mountain.
Before it became the home of the billionaires.
Before, I mean, truly, when I first started going, I'd tell people, oh, I'm going to Montana. They'd be like, what the heck is in Montana? and like, unfortunately, it's certainly discovered these days.
Yeah.
But for everyone listening, it's a horrible place. Don't go. But so I've been skiing there my whole life. But I've skied, in Utah with my mom. I've skied places in Colorado. We talked about Breckenridge. I have a complicated history with Breckenridge. But it's truly my favorite thing to do. So we do a family trip around spring break to Montana, and then Katie, my fiance, and I are trying to do, maybe a winter trip each year. So we're gonna try and start doing that.
I always envied the families growing up that had their ski trip every winter. Like, I just wanted to do that so bad,
It's funny you say that because my vacations growing up, and I was either camping in the Boundary Waters, which is, these are, and I'm very fortunate, like camping in Quetico in Canada in the Boundary Waters, and then skiing. Everyone else that I was growing up with were going to like the beach, and like I'm sleeping in the dirt, and I am doing manual labor. I'm like hauling packs over portages. I'm just like, can we just be a normal family? But like looking back on it, I'm so grateful that we did all that, and just really these once in a lifetime, really unique experiences, and it's shaped who I am as a person for sure.
Yeah, I bet.
And just it has had a profound impact on me. But
I feel like you don't truly understand or appreciate nature until you grow up a little bit too.
Couldn't agree more.
You like realize the value of those experiences, and so yeah, that's where I'm like, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it while I was younger, especially the camping aspect. Is like now I just yearn for that.
Yeah, we're in these like concrete jungles, and Katie and I went out to Shenandoah 2 years ago or so and just camped out there, and it was just it's so easy to get to. It's so gorgeous out there.
Yeah.
We camped and hiked, and so there's a lot of options out here for sure.
Good stuff. What else outside of that do you want people to know about who you are outside of work? Like, how are you going to connect with someone that's not about politics?
I asked Katie yesterday, upon your recommendation, ask your significant other what you're like outside of work, and so she wanted me to say, she calls me, and I disagree, but a Renaissance man, in the sense that I'm really weird, and I just deep dive. I get in these like phases, and I just deep dive on random things, and I do it for like 3 months, and then I move on to something else. So I kind of just, it's the same thing. My knowledge on things is a mile wide and an inch deep, maybe a couple inches deep. But so I can kind of connect with anybody. I can find something, and I've usually either like looked it up or done, done it or done some research on it before. So that's always, but I do love to travel too. And that's, my mom traveled a lot for work. She used to take me on trips as a kid, so that kind of gave me the travel bug. Yeah. And then when I did advanced, it was just like heaven. I have no problem hopping on a plane anytime and just going. I don't care if it's like the middle of nowhere or if it's, France or whatever, but that's always been a.
Do you have your honeymoon planned?
Kind of. We are going to go to Italy.
Nice.
We have not figured out the details, and it is coming up. So
I
we
can
probably
help there. That's where my honeymoon was.
So, okay, yes. Yeah. So we're going in October, and Katie and I have been to Rome and Lake Como together, but October's it's middle of October. It's kind of the off season, so we're trying to figure out. We're definitely going to go to Rome, and then I don't know, figure out.
I've got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk after. Yeah.
But to switch back real quick, what are some rabbit holes you've been through recently? Like, what are the things you're diving into?
Yeah. Right now, honestly, and it sounds so lame because this is beats the purpose of what we're talking about, is just with my new job, I've just been like diving into oil and gas and just the energy world. But what was nice about my other job, my autos job, is the work-life balance was really good, and so I was able to kind of I used to play guitar as a kid, and I finally had the time to just relearn it, and so I love playing guitar. I love making music.
Nice.
In that sense. Playing golf. I grew up playing golf. I was never very good, but I've been able to kind of, hone in my skills a bit, and so I'm trying to play more and more golf,
Nice.
which, as you naturally do as you get older.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm trying to think what else. It's just.
Did you watch Landman on on Paramount?
I've seen it. My parents watch it, so when I'm home, they always have it on TV. But they watch like this, I swear I've seen like the same episode like 5 times at home. I don't know because they forget that they watched that. I don't know. So I've seen it, but I haven't seen the whole thing.
Gotcha.
But apparently, from people I've talked to in the industry, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
A good portrayal of it.
Very quality show. I mean, Taylor Sheridan's great.
Yeah.
If you've seen like 1883 or 1923 too.
I watched Yellowstone. I've not seen. I maybe saw the first episode of what was the first one?
1883. You got to watch the prequels. As someone who likes to camp, be outdoors, like it's like American frontier.
Yeah.
Like, on your way out to the West Coast,
Yeah.
and it's just fascinating.
Which I love. I mean, we love the Western frontier in my family. So yeah, it's I'll put it on the. I'm like really bad with TV. I just watch the same shows like over and over again.
Yeah, you gotta go to sleep with The Office.
Exactly. I go to sleep with The Office. Top Gear is this British car show that
yeah, for sure.
I'm sure you
Grand
know.
Tour.
The Grand Tour. And on Samsung TVs, they have like free live TV, and they have a channel of Top Gear that's on. It plays Top Gear 24/7.
Love
so
that.
it is on my TV, just playing in the background all the time. So there's always that, and then I love Veep. I watch Veep all the time as well.
For sure. That was I had my daughter, she was born 3 months ago now, but that
Congratulations.
first few weeks where I was trying to take it easy, it was just like, all right, we're putting on the Grand Tour,
Yeah.
Top Gear, and just
Yeah.
like reliving the old days.
Exactly.
And it was the best. I'm like, I wish I didn't have to go back to
Yeah.
work. Like, this was so much more fun.
And they're still, I've seen those episodes 1,000 times. I still just die laughing, and they're still so well done.
The best comedy show ever,
Truly.
like, that people don't get it.
And you don't have to, especially in the later seasons, you don't have to be a car guy, really. It's just like a crazy, like they do it big, and it's, traveling and adventure and,
For sure.
And just fun stuff. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I'm really glad we had this conversation. We have plenty in common, so this was a fun one. Thanks for coming on.
Please, it's an honor to be here, and I thank you for having me, and hopefully I get the invite back soon.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
A little handshake. There we go.
There we go. I'm old school.
Thank you for tuning into Capital Spotlight Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe to our channels to stay updated on new releases, share the show with your friends, and rate the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. For more from Connect, subscribe to our daily newsletters, follow us on social media, and check out our website, all at Capital Connect, capital with an O, CNCT. See you next time.